Hey everyone, this is Christian Heimel, host of Press Row. Thanks so much for listening to the following broadcast, courtesy of Public House Media.
This is Liz Colburn, host of The Morning Uplift here on Public House Media. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media. Once you are done with this episode, I hope you'll come back and check out my show, The Morning Uplift, where we talk about finding your beauty in the journey. A new show comes out twice a month on the first and third Mondays. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you never miss an episode of The Morning Uplift. Thank you again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Today's verse of the day comes from Romans 12:3. For by the grace given me, I say to every one of you, do not think of yourself more highly than you ought, but rather think of yourself with sober judgment in accordance with the faith God has distributed to each of you. Good morning, welcome to Verse of the Day. I'm Baxter Colburn. Thanks for being here today. I am so excited for our episode today. Happy Wednesday to you. We have a great guest on the show today. Last week we had Lauren Anderson on, and she did a phenomenal job kicking off our guest speaker series as she tackled the verses of James 1, 26, and 27. Today we get to keep the party going. We are excited here over at Verse of the Day to welcome Morgan Brill to the episode. She is a phenomenal friend. She is a mother. She is a wife. And someone that loves speaking about her faith, and I'm really excited as you heard the verse that she has today. She's got some really, really good insights. I was taking notes as I was listening to the episode when she sent it to me ahead of time, so there's a lot of really, really good content that I'm so excited for her to share with you today. A fast reminder, you can find the show by going over to Apple Podcasts or publichousemedia.org. Let's take some time today to embrace God's Word, today through the words of Morgan Brill.
Some context with this verse. It's important to note that verse 3 in Romans is preceded by a powerful concept in verses 1 and 2. And essentially, those things paraphrased are, don't copy the ways of this world and allow God to give you a new way to think. And then you'll fully understand God's mission for you. So do not be of this world, but be of your mission that you are here on this earth to serve. Purpose, God's charge for us to serve others and be disciples to bring others to Him. And then in Romans 12:3, it reminds us that don't think you're better than you really are. Be honest in the evaluation of yourselves, right? So that helps remind us that it's not about us and it's about Him. God gives us a little bit of a gut check here in Romans 12:3. This verse is part of letters that Paul wrote to the Christians of Rome to also help them understand the behavior that we're called to have in the eyes of the Lord, which makes it applicable to today because even more so, we live on a sinful earth, and it's great to have a constant reminder in a verse like this to ground us in the fact that our behaviors are going to be different. Our evaluation of ourselves, how we look at ourselves, how we live our daily lives is going to be different. And that's exactly how God calls us to be. In a society that tells us that accolades and money and recognition is what we should receive and what we should strive for, we need to remember that our ultimate purpose on this earth is to live for Christ, and to remember each morning when we wake up that what we do with our day needs to help bring others to the Lord or help us bring ourselves closer to the Lord. An example I have of this in my life, it seems applicable because my husband and I are thinking about tax season. Last tax season, our preparer talked to us and he said, do you know how much money you're giving to your church? And we were like, yeah, we're very aware of what we donate and what we make sure that we've pledged to the church, that we give a portion of what we make there. And he made some comment like, well, I wish I was your church, that you would just give us this money. And Sean and I talked a little bit after that. Sean is my husband, and it's funny how when you have conversations with non-Christian individuals, they really put a high emphasis on money and where their money goes. And that really got us to thinking that, we could save that money. It's attractive to think to save all that money. It's attractive to think that we could use that money for our honor. But that's not what we're called to do. So we had to check the sin that was creeping in and the voices telling us that, maybe this financially savvy individual isn't so wrong after all. But we quickly came to the conclusion that in our daily lives, we're called to use what we work hard for on this earth to help grow God's kingdom. And this verse really reminded me of that scenario. So a couple of things that this verse reminds us to do in our daily lives is to continue to humble ourselves every day in both our personal lives and our relationships, in our interactions with other people, and our professional lives, our interactions when we're at work and in our place of service, when we're making an income and making a livelihood, or creating that livelihood rather, for our families. We need to allow God to dictate our decisions. Instead of making decisions in our daily lives, whether it's personal or professional, ourselves, we need to check ourselves and remind ourselves that we need to go to God in prayer and be reminded that our sole purpose on this earth is to live for Him and not for our own personal gain. And I think that's applicable to a lot of things in our daily lives, and maybe not just income. Money was the first place that my mind went because of my personal example. But the second daily impact that you can take away from this verse is that your worth is found in Him and not accolades, titles, recognition that we might receive. He is our King. There is not a king on earth, even though we treat things like success, material items, money, like our King, and others that put value on you by the things that you have. But that's not who we are, and that's not who we're called to be. We're called to be daily in a walk with Christ, living out the Great Commission. That means our purpose on this earth is to disciple and bring others to Him. It's not to make any amount of money or make any certain person happy based on superficial gain. It's by living minimalistically. How did Jesus live, right? By living and leading by example, spending time with the least of these, being with others and helping influence their decisions and helping influence their thought process and influence what they value and their habits and their interactions to help lead them to His Father. And that's what we're called to do too on a daily basis. And I want to charge you with that as we take a look at this verse, Romans 12:3. So let me just read that one more time. Because of the privilege and authority God has given me, Paul, that is, I give each of you this warning. Do not think you are better than you really are. Be honest in your evaluation of yourselves, measuring yourselves by the faith God has given us. So that doesn't mean to cut yourself down. That doesn't mean to humble yourself to the point where others are able to take advantage of you. That just means reflect on your life. Reflect on your day, reflect on your week, reflect on your month, and where are the areas that you can take a look at and be measured by the impact that you have on God's kingdom here on earth. Be measured by the belief that you have in God's kingdom here on earth, and be measured by the fact that you're serving others and helping bring those people to Christ.